welcome everybody. I'm so excited. I was afraid I would flub it. I have a very small assignment just to help everyone who helped us to do this. When Debra and David approached me, they pointed out that they're our personal friends of Ayanna Pressley's, and can we do something for her? I said, well, if we can get some help, yes. Everybody we asked said yes. So here we are today, and I want to tell you who stepped up to help us here. First of all, from Hingham High School, we have 3 volunteers who were thrilled to get the gas.
Yay! Woo-hoo!
We have Caitlin Breen. They helped you park your cars and served you drinks.
Yay! Woo!
Is Caitlin out here?
Where are the girls?
I hope she's not still working. Oh, they are. Yeah. All right, I'll go on to our co-hosts and we'll come back. I told them they're off duty and you're all on your own now, but they're very dedicated. So, our co-hosts tonight, Ashley Webb Colery. Ashley. Ness Parenti. John Deely. Louisa Caston. Scott Knox. And Katie McBride. I can't believe alphabetically ended with an M. So we did it tonight. All right, where are our volunteers? All right. Caitlin Green. Donna Doe. Ian Keller. You're parked. You've had your first round of drinks, and I hope you're going back for more food, and they are off duty now, so. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over to David Janey.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you and Kevin for sharing your beautiful home with a troop of activists. And I just have to say that I'm really proud to see how much the South Shore has shown up for the A-Team. Ready and raring to go. My name, again, is David Janey. I'm one of your hosts. I have a quick story, but a little background for this quick story before I get there. And this is a story Ayanna hasn't heard. But I grew up in a ranch house, a little ranch house about less than a mile from here. My parents, Ken and Daisy, built the house in the 50s, and they were activists. Anti-Vietnam War activists, civil rights activists, racial justice activists. We all marched. We marched a lot. Long after Ken died, and late in Daisy's life, she became close friends with Ayanna's mother, Sandy. The found family that they created is Debra and I and Ayanna and Conan are the beneficiaries of that found family, and we're so grateful for them and for that. So the quick story: Daisy died last summer, and a few weeks after she died, less than 2 weeks, this envelope came in the mail, and it was a return to sender. It was addressed to Friends of Ayanna Pressley Committee from Daisy, and the card inside was dated July 2016, and the check inside was dated July 2016. So this was floating around in the U.S. Post for 2 years. I don't know what a congresswoman from the 7th district can do about the United States. Or maybe if their staff could check in. But anyways, the card says, "Dear Ayanna, Sandy is smiling and so am I. Love you, Daisy." The note on the check said, "So proud of you." As the executor of Daisy's estate, I'm responsible for her expenditures and that she made and any expenditures that she intended to make. And for sure, Daisy intended to invest in the future that Ayanna is building for all of us. So, coming in today, there's a spot, a basket for checks at the door. So I put a check on my way in as a replacement check for the one that Daisy wrote, because 2 years it's stale. So we've made good on that check for Daisy. And in closing, I guess, here's the pitch. Just, if Daisy could transcend space and time to put a little extra in the basket, maybe you can too. Maybe you can. So keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your mind. Keep showing up and keep standing up for progressive values. That's why we're here. So thank you. Now it's my pleasure to turn the mic over to introduce Ayanna, and I will turn the mic over to Debra, and thank you so much.
Wow. So I'm also married to David. It's a really special evening, and I wanted to say a little bit about how we all came to be here together. I have had many opportunities to be with Ayanna over many years, and last spring was one of those amazing times, and I just thought, wow, we're going to bring her to the South Shore. And I texted David and Ellen, and we were like, within 5 minutes, we just knew we were going to do this. And so it's kind of a dream. It won't be the only time. And next year we might need a bigger space. I've been so fortunate to know Ayanna through our families, sharing a lot of personal experiences, and I know that Daisy, my mother-in-law, and Sandy, her mom, are smiling at us right now in their sisterhood, because it was a deep sisterhood that they shared. And very grateful, even when Ayanna took an afternoon off from campaigning and came and spent time with us when Daisy was ill. And that was a very memorable afternoon. I've also been more than fortunate to know and work with Ayanna through my activism. And in my role, another hat, nonpartisan hat I wear, as the executive director of a statewide organization called Jane Doe Inc., the Massachusetts Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence. And so we've intertwined in our commitments around these issues and others. And it was actually almost 1 year ago today, we were just speaking of this, that we were on the steps of the Boston City Hall when the Kavanaugh nomination was upon us. And here we are, still and again. With all my collective hats and roles that I play, I look for opportunities to build bridges and connections and to liberate resources. I see that as my platform, as someone who's privileged to live here, in my life experience as a white woman committed to racial justice and social justice. And so that's what we're all here for tonight. We're liberating resources. And as Ayanna said when she came here, most of us can't even vote for you. Not right now. Right now.
Yeah.
We are at the mark of about $11,500 that we've collectively raised for tonight. Our goal, we've already surpassed our goal, but I'm a fundraiser, so I want to echo what David says. We got to get over 12, right? I hope you'll be with us on that journey, at least. So I'm thrilled to have a role, just a little small piece, in bringing Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley here. Your bold, fearless leadership, especially right now, and your unwavering commitment to justice is a voice we need. And obviously, we all agree that we want to support that right here. Ayanna walks the walk in the way she leads, in her political and personal life, with her incredible team, and Samantha and Beata, who are here today, and there are more. Other people who are following the Yes.
I have to say that because it is true, the men are the affirmative action hires on this. You gotta give it up.
Yes. This team is just incredible. Her campaign team, her office, they are responsive. I do have to just say something. I work with a lot of members of Congress, and when we were drafting comments on Title IX, your office contacted my office to ask us what did we want you to include in that. I've never had that experience before of actually participatory, engaging policy. I also want to say that, Ayanna, I'm part of your survivor tribe, as many of us here are. And I know you have our backs. Every day you make that really clear. But we also have your back.
Yes. Yes.
That's equally important for you to know and hear. And we stand with you tonight, every day, because we love to be in community with you. And so without further ado, it is my honor to introduce Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley.
Oh my goodness. I'm still adjusting to the title of representative or congresswoman because, it's a funny story. I was at an event not that long ago, and they announced that the congresswoman would be taking the stage shortly, and I turned to my chief of staff and I said, "Is that Catherine Clark?" And she said, "No, you." And I'm still adjusting to that because really, what I believe fiercely I am more than anything is two things. My mother's child, may she rest in power, and being her daughter is the proudest title I've ever earned, more than any comma and elected title that I could. And the second is that I am your sister in the struggle, your sister in solidarity, your sister in organizing and mobilizing for collective and shared victories. And I want to thank Ellen and Kevin and David and Debra for being members of what I would call my chosen family. I'm an only child, and I've been doing this work quite literally since I was in utero. At the knee and on the hip of my mother, who held many jobs throughout her life as a single parent, struggling to make ends meet. And my mother taught me that there's a difference in life, usually, between your job and your work. Your job is what you do to pay the bills. But your work, with a capital W, is the work of the upliftment, the empowerment, the advancement of community. And I think that's why, as an only child, I took to this work with a capital W, because it is so heartening, the chosen family you find and you build along the way. And looking out at all of you today also underscores for me the fact that the squad is big. The squad is big. Any person that is doing the work of building a more equitable and just world is a member of the squad. And that is each and every one of you. And I do want to say, for Ellen and Kevin to open up their home, there's a lot of talk about the polarization and the division in our country. And a pastor friend of mine in Detroit said, it's not that we are divided as a nation, it is that we are disconnected. And so for us to be intentional about the building of community and fostering that connectivity, for them to give us the space to do that, that in and of itself is resistance. But I don't mean resistance in the most demonstrative of way. Joy is also an act of resistance. I took an oath of office January 3rd in Washington, D.C., But then I returned maybe 12 days later to Roxbury, to the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District, for a ceremonial community swearing in. And I did that because one of the other things my mother taught me is that this work is work we must do cooperatively. That it is not for us to lay the responsibility and the onus and the burden squarely on the shoulders of or at the feet of those in elected office. That this is work we have to do cooperatively. And throughout my campaign, now when Bernie had that said that meant something. I'm just gonna embrace it. So I came back to Roxbury for a community ceremonial swearing in, and I worked with my team, my A team, to develop a pledge that we could take as a community. Because again, I'm not going to be upstaged by the chipmunk. I have to work it out. Focus on this outfit. Thank you. So I worked with my team to develop this community pledge, and I won't lift up every tenet of it, but I'll lift up 3 things. The first is that I will be bold. The second is that I will work every day for a more equitable and just world. And the third that I'll lift for the purposes of today is I will inform joy in my life and in the world, because it is also an act of resistance. When we are drinking from a fire hose of insult and assault to our senses, to our democracy, to our civil rights, to our planet, to our humanity, when we are drinking from this fire hose, it seems sometimes by the hour, when they are coming for my self-agency and very autonomy over my body, I am not going to give them my joy too. And I implore all of you to continue to inform that joy in your life and in the world, because that is also resistance. Right. So that's what we're doing here today, building community and informing joy. Now, I've been in Congress almost 8 months, and there are many historical edicts of this 116th congressional class. This is the most diverse and representative class in the history of Congress. It is the biggest class. The only class that rivals us in size would be the Watergate babies, and I think there are many parallels that could be drawn, right? It was at a time of great division and polarization and corruption. So we are the biggest, the most diverse, the most representative, the first pro-choice majority Congress in the history of Congress. And I also have the unenviable historical edict of our being the first class to be onboarded in the midst of a federal government shutdown. Now, you heard in a lot of the reporting about the burden on our federal workers who were working without pay. And certainly they deserve to get back pay. And there's already a mechanism for them to get back pay, because we have had previous shutdowns. And between you, me, and the woods, we're facing down the barrel potentially of another one impending. But what I learned is that federally contracted third-party service workers had no mechanism to make them whole. Now, many people know I was a city councilor 8 years. I was an aide on the federal level for 16 years, 4 years in the House for former Congressman Joseph P. Kennedy II, and then 11 years with United States Senator John Kerry. But what many don't know is that I was a hotel worker for 6 years. I know what it is to be a part of a workforce where you are rendered in your contributions as if you are invisible. Well, people look over you and they look through you. And so when I learned that these service workers are most vulnerable, hourly, low-wage workers, women, immigrants, people of color, people that I'm sure many of you in this room have joined efforts to support those workers in getting the health care they deserve, and predictable work schedules, and a livable wage. Our most hourly vulnerable low-wage workers had missed 1 and some 2 pay periods. And I heard heartbreaking stories of people who had to take their children out of college, who had depleted what little savings they had. And I said, we have to do something about this. Now, let me tell you who these service workers are. These are the custodians that in the midst of this shutdown, although they were not being paid, who kept our offices and our hallways pristine, custodians. These are security workers who keep us safe, and we do get a lot of threats. And these are food service workers on the rare occasion that we can actually get to the cafeteria, who take care of us very lovingly. And I said, you know, gone are the days as Democrats where we espouse values that we don't practice. I can't come into this august institution, work under this golden dome, knowing that the people in this very building have no justice. And so within the first 14 days of my being a member of Congress, in the midst of this federal government shutdown, I filed my first bill. Now, in 8 months, I have introduced myself 12 pieces of legislation. I have co-sponsored 292 pieces of legislation. And I have introduced and passed 10 amendments. It is a source of pride that the very first bill I authored was a workers' rights bill for those service workers to get back pay. And the best part of it is that that bill did make it into the House's appropriations and budget package. So the very first bill I wrote made it into our budget package. So we are one step closer to full restoration of that back pay and justice for those families. But that package is sitting at the door of Mitch McConnell. So this Democratic majority Congress, we're doing our job. I'm sorry I didn't bring Mitch McConnell's phone number today because I like to pass it out. Well, we'll do it online. Give him a call. Say, Mitch, do your job. Do something. Okay? And so, you know, our destinies and our freedoms are tied, and, you know, I'm doing the work in partnership with all of you, racial, social, economic, gender, green, justice. And the top line frames are that I'm fighting for the worker, the immigrant, and the survivor. And so on the immigrant front, and there have been so many fights that we've had to take on and upfront to this coordinated attack against immigrants. Most recently, and I want to share this with you because you get so much information, you're deluged by how sobering the landscape is. But I want you to walk away knowing that you are powerful. So recently, myself, Senator Markey, and two of my colleagues, Representative Desanier and Representative Chu, were able to reverse the medical deferment decision. Wow. So if you were following that, they were deporting, they canceled the medical deferment program, and we're going to be, people have received a letter, they had 30 days. These are families battling chronic, terminal illnesses, families who are participating in clinical trials which have saved millions of lives. And upon hearing this, so we wrote a letter immediately to the administration demanding to get to the bottom of how this decision to terminate the policy came about. And then using the power of the committee, I serve on two committees, Financial Services and also Oversight and Reform. And so I reached out to our chair, Elijah Cummings, and said we need to do a hearing. And so a lot of great things aligned. So WBUR, Shannon Dooling broke that story. Senator Markey, Rep. Desanier, Rep. Chu, and I wrote a letter. Then I talked to Chairman Cummings, and we had a hearing. And 16-year-olds like Jonathan Sanchez, living with cystic fibrosis from Honduras, devastated by the prospect of having to be deported, especially because his youngest sister had died in Honduras from cystic fibrosis. And so he knew that if he was deported, it was a death sentence. And here he was, 16 years old, demanding that this government see the humanity in him and see his life of value. When we fight, we win. On Friday, we got a call that they were reversing course and restoring their program. I'm sharing that with you because there is power in organizing, there is power in mobilizing. This is, in this new world dichotomy, the only way that we both resist and progress. And so I know that folks are weary, that you are fatigued by the constant fighting, but that's why I hope you will feel emboldened in knowing that there are victories. And then the last thing for the purposes of our talk that I want to share with you as I lift up the worker, the immigrant, and the survivor is my most recent action on behalf of the healing and justice of millions of survivors. I am a survivor of childhood rape and also campus sexual assault. I have been very transparent about this, not because I want to tell my story, but because I want to create space for millions to know that they are seen and that they are heard. And one of the reasons I ran for Congress was to fight for the healing and the justice of my survivor tribe. 1 year to the day that we stood on the City Hall Plaza in affront to the confirmation process of Kavanaugh, I filed an impeachment inquiry resolution. And again, there are those soberingly who will say, can you get enough sponsors? Can you get the support of the Senate? Can this ever really happen? Sometimes the victory is just in the fight. But yes, I do believe, because I believe in the capacity of people, because I believe, as unfortunate as it is, that survivors so often have to weaponize their lived experiences in order to be seen and to be heard. But I know that the confirmation process of Kavanaugh was demoralizing and triggering for so many people. And it's not that I am impeachment happy, although I was an early co-sponsor of the impeachment resolution introduced by Representative Tlaib and Green to impeach the occupant of this White House. Now, I do that with a heavy heart. I did not go to Congress to impeach a president. But when someone threatens not only the moral fiber of our democracy, but our national security, and every day we are met with a new revealing of corruption, chaos, and confusion. We went from a president who sang Amazing Grace to one who exhibits zero. And so I refer to him as the occupant, not because I dishonor the office of the presidency, but because he does. And so I signed or co-sponsored that resolution with a heavy heart. So I didn't go to Washington to impeach a president. I went to change the legacy of the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District, which is the most unequal, the most diverse but unequal district in our delegation, and arguably one of the most unequal in our country. We're in a 3-mile radius from Cambridge to Roxbury. Life expectancy drops by 30 years. In median household income by $50,000. This is why I'm grateful to serve on the Financial Services Committee, because I can address all the issues that created those inequities, like redlining, right? Like credit invisibility and underbanking, the student loan crisis, right? But I'm also grateful to serve on the Oversight and Reform Committee so that I can do the work of holding this administration accountable. And that is no partisan witch hunt. Chairman Cummings says we are in effective and efficient pursuit of the truth. And that is bigger than the Democrats and bigger than any committee. This is about holding a lawless administration accountable because we do care about the office of the presidency. And so with that in mind, that is why I am not impeachment happy, but what I am is trauma heavy. And that is why I filed an impeachment inquiry resolution, because given the recent allegations that have come out, I think it is fair to say that this is a partisan FBI, a GOP-led Senate that had a fundamentally flawed and rushed confirmation process. And these accusers and the accused deserve due process and a full investigation. So I lift up those three things on behalf of the worker, the immigrant, and the survivor. I thank each and every one of you in the midst of this inflection point that we're at as a country for your intentionality in being here today, because you could have been anywhere else in the world. And then finally, I want to say that I do believe our campaign ushered in a paradigm shift on how to run and win elections differently. And I'll talk about that some other time, and maybe you'll ask and I'll talk about it. But we're also ushering in a paradigm shift in how to govern differently. And this is a revolution, and revolutions do require resources. And so I thank you for your investment in bringing your full heart, for lending your skills and your talent, for your financial investment, and for your sweat equity. Most of all, thank you for being in community with us tonight. So I am happy to take a couple of questions. questions, if folks want to do that. And then I'm going to try to spend time with folks one-on-one, but honestly, this might be for the best, unless y'all are going to let me be barefoot in this grass. I don't want to get bitten by mosquitoes. But I'm going to take a walk right now. All right. Okay. All right. Does anyone have any... It's okay. It's lovely out here. So does anyone have any questions about anything? Or you can just offer statements about what you care about and what's on your mind and what you hope I'll work on. I can't see you. Oh, hello.